welfare and poverty. Welcome to the Libertarian Starter Pack. The goal of this series is to let people know that there is an alternative to voting for Clinton or Trump. There is a third political party, the Libertarian Party. In the last video, I gave an overview of the Libertarian stance on economic policy. In short, you could say that Libertarians want a separation of economy and state. Link in the description below. So right now, I would like to talk about the Libertarian stance on welfare programs and poverty. Many politicians nowadays seem overly focused on the welfare part and not so much on the solving poverty part. The status quo right now, whether intentional or not, is for the government to hinder economic activity and job growth and then cut a check to the people that are harmed in the process. This is completely unsustainable and immoral. First, here are some quick facts about the current web of welfare programs. All sources are listed below. Hold on to your butts. The United States spends around $1 trillion on welfare and entitlement spending every year. Poverty rates in the US have remained largely unchanged since the 1960s, even though welfare spending has exploded. The US government is very inefficient. Only 30% of every dollar collected for welfare programs actually go to the recipients. And finally, around 49% of all Americans get some sort of check from the government. Objectively speaking, from the data, it can be concluded that the US government is in the business of sustaining poverty. The combination of massive spending and no results is staggering. It is plain to see that the government is on the march to insolvency. Approaching poverty in the same way like we have for the last 50 years is completely unsustainable. All attempts to solve poverty by throwing money at it have failed. So what's the answer to poverty, you ask? It's very simple, my friend. Economic freedom. Let me count the ways. End the minimum wage. The economic principle that when you increase the cost of something, you generally get less of it, is not controversial. Hell, it's even one of the reasons the government taxes cigarettes so heavily, to reduce their use. Logically, the same goes for the labor market. If you make low-skilled work more expensive for businesses to pay for, then you're going to get less of it. This is one of the many drivers of youth unemployment, and disproportionately, minority youth unemployment. New research finds that a higher minimum wage results in lower employment for low-skilled workers in the long run. An increase of 1% in the minimum wage leads to around 0.4% decrease in employment. The real minimum wage, on the other hand, is $0 an hour, and outlawing jobs that don't pay enough, that make politicians feel warm and fuzzy, only pushes more people into that category. Remember, most people don't spend their whole life in a low-paying job, but they do need somewhere to start. End government occupational licensing. Less than 5% of US workers in the 1950s needed to have a license from the government to do their job. In 2008, it is estimated to be around 29%. And it's not just high-skilled workers and industries that require it either. Florists, truck drivers, hairstylists, even internal decorators. Oh, the insanity. Research indicates that licensing has not improved the quality of these industries either, but they sure have made them more expensive. There is something inherently wrong with the government stealing your right to work in a field and then selling it back to you. Reduce costly regulation. I talked about the huge cost of government regulation on the economy in my last video on economic policy. Go there for an in-depth look at the wet blanket that government is throwing over the economy. A link in the description. In short, it is estimated that the US economy is smaller today by $4 trillion because of government intervention since the 1980s. That's the size of the German economy. Scheisse! That's a lot of jobs and wealth that could help a lot of people right now. Reduce the cost of employing someone. In a similar way to how the minimum wage inflates the cost of labor, so does the various taxes and regulations that government piles on businesses when they hire someone. New employees cost businesses between 18 and 25% more because of things like Social Security tax, the Medicare tax, state unemployment insurance, and healthcare insurance, and so on. These taxes pull money out of the income that these employees might otherwise have received in their paycheck. What's worse is that this hurts small businesses and mom and pop shops more than the big businesses. It's the big guys that can afford all these taxes and laws, not the small guys. And anyone that supports these types of policies are effectively seeking to harm small business and give a leg up to big business. Looking at you, Bernie. So the current system of fighting poverty with welfare and regulation is like hitting someone in the knee with a bat and then handing them a crutch. Instead of handing them a second crutch, let's take away the bat. Welfare does not reduce poverty. The data shows this. But employment does reduce poverty, obviously. We must end the policies and taxes that prevent people from working and punish businesses for hiring people. Or I guess we could just do more of the same and get the same results. And thanks for listening. Stay tuned for future videos in my Libertarian Starter Pack series. Take care, and I'll talk to you later. Live free.